Hi, welcome back. This is still Manish Johari from the Busan Center, Pune, and in conjunction with the Smart India Hackathon team, comprising of members of the MHRD and the Innovation Cell along with the AICTE, we welcome you to the Module 2 of our program. In this module, we will be talking about the brain and the brainstorming techniques. How do we ideate? Because I believe that for a hackathon to be really effective, for you to do well in the hackathon, you need to have good ideas. Idea generation is a function of the brain, and that's what we will be covering in the first part, all about the human brain as far as its usage goes. Let us find out how we have evolved over a period of time. Thousands of years ago, it was an agrarian society. People used to grow what they wanted to consume. That went on for many, many years. And then came the industrial age, where industries were established. Industries required a very different kind of a mindset, a different kind of a skill set as compared to the agrarian age. Do you agree to that? True, we have evolved. Actually, it is very interesting to note that it was during the industrial age that our formal education system took birth. What age do you think we are in now? Think about it. The rate of change of all these ages has exponentially increased, yes. But right now, let's find out what age we are in. Post the industrial age came the age of information, where computers came into play. Now, computers are very good in doing repetitive kind of jobs. Earlier we had those typewriters where we type. If there's an error, well, you scrub it out, scratch it out, you put some white ink and then go back and retype. Today, computers just put in Word and you're done. Well, that's the job of the computer. It helps you do repetitive kind of work very fast. For example, those in accounts will realize that to change an entry somewhere, there are 5 different levels that you have to adjust. But today, with the software available, well, you save all that headache. And as a result of this, we save a lot of time. And what are we supposed to do with that time? What is the unique thing that the human brain can do, which no other living being is known to be doing well? Well, we think. We are supposed to be thinking. Post the information age came the age of knowledge. The internet. Do you see what happens? Earlier, the knowledge was in the hands, or rather the minds and the brains of a select few, our gurus, our parents. Today, knowledge is at your fingertips. The cost of a broadband connection, you have all the knowledge you need available. Much more than what your elders or your seniors could ever have. And incidentally, thanks to this, there is a slight change in the way people look at others as well. So, after the knowledge age came the age of intelligence. Today, we are in the age of intelligence. So, if in the industrial age you had to think industrially, in the age of intelligence, you have to think intelligently. And when we talk of intelligence, which part of the human body comes to mind? Yep, it is the brain. The brain is the start of everything. So today it boils down to how you can manage the manager of knowledge. How is it that you can manage your brain? How is it that you know how it works, make it work for you? It is an amazing object, amazing organ, but it's very mysterious as well. It can recall songs which you have not heard for years together, but it sometimes finds it a challenge to place a name on the face walking towards you. The same brain acts very differently. When under pressure and you expect it to recall some piece of information or data, it goes blank. But when you're having a shower or taking a walk in the garden, aha, that was what I was trying to recall at that point. Again, mysterious ways of working. Let's try to find out more about the human brain, because that is going to help you in the session that we will be covering today. The human brain. How many of us feel that it is a powerful organ? It is absolutely a very powerful organ. A variety of sections of the brain have their own things chalked out for them. Their own jobs are chalked out well. Some activities happen without your conscious control, which actually is a good thing. A lot of myths around the brain. We feel that we can multitask. Actually, research has shown recently that that is a myth. The brain switches from one task to the other, and it is now being suggested that multitasking is not as efficient as when doing a single task. Again, a lot of research going around in the world, a lot of people from different walks of life, physicists and biologists and psychologists and psychiatrists and general science guys and physicists are all looking into different aspects of the brain. What makes it tick? Well, we never know what we'll find out in later terms, but it is important for us to know how to make it work for us. It's our friend. It's like a genie. We've all heard of the Aladdin and his lamp. You rub on the lamp and the genie pops out. Well, I believe that everybody has a genie, and that is the brain. And that's why we call our sister concern Awaken the Genius. Learn to use the brain correctly, and it will work wonders for you. Let's play an imagination game. Imagine that the area in front of you, wherever you're sitting, is a plot of freshly cut grass, a beautiful, rich, lush green patch of land. And I ask you to walk from point A to point B on that grass. Okay? How would you do that the first time? Yeah? Typically, you would walk slowly, one step after the other, not sure about whether the ground will take your weight, whether it is marshy, whether your heels will sink into it, a variety of thoughts coming in your way. You'll be looking very carefully, are there any thorns along the way, are there any insects, etc., etc. Right? Very carefully, very slowly. Okay? Now, if I ask you to walk again from the same point A to the same point B, the second time, how do you do that? A little more confident, a little more relaxed. Yeah? Third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 20th, 100th time, how do you walk across that path? By now, you don't even look at it. You just walk blindly. You know, you're pretty comfortable, pretty familiar with that, right? Now, I'd like you to pay a little attention on that path from A to B. When you first started walking, there was a lot of grass, right? But as you went on, all that grass got trampled upon, beaten down. And now, by the 10th or 15th time, maybe 20th time, there is a clear-cut path from point A to point B. Chances are that if you visited that piece of land a few weeks or months later, you will still see that path. Now, friends, this is exactly what happens inside your brain. Whenever you have a thought, neuron A gets connected to neuron B. Whenever you do an action, neuron A gets connected to neuron B. Have you noticed? Every time you do something new, you resist. We all resist change. Well, that is a function of your brain. There is neural resistance along that path. Just like there was grass from point A to point B. That is resistance. But just like in the walking exercise, the more frequently you have the same thought, neuron A gets more strongly connected to neuron B. That path, that neural pathway becomes stronger and stronger. That becomes the path of least resistance. To take the example a little further, go back to the time when you were learning how to drive a four-wheeler. Okay? Your entire concentration was on, am I leaving the clutch properly? Am I pressing the accelerator correctly? Right? A lot of concentration, focus on this aspect. Today, after months and years of driving cars, do you even think about it? Probably not. That has become a strong connect. That is exactly what happens inside your brain. That is why, as human beings, we like to walk the path of least resistance, right? And that prompts us to go back to our old ways of working, what we are familiar with. Oh, I've seen this path, I will go on that path. I've eaten this kind of food, I will carry on eating that kind of food. I've worn this kind of a shirt, I'll carry on doing that. It's very difficult. It requires an effort from our side to change the way we behave. So, we should be very conscious about what we do repeatedly. The brain is just chemicals and electricals. We've all heard that when an electric impulse is given, chemicals are released in the brain. Yes, neuron A releases chemicals which are passed along the way to neuron B. The more frequently you walk that path, it becomes stronger. The brain does not know whether you are having a positive thought or a not so positive thought. The reaction will remain the same. It will become stronger. It is up to you to decide whether you want to have a positive thought and repeatedly increase the frequency of the positive thought or otherwise. That's up to you. But that's the way the brain behaves. We also spoke in the last session about the utilization of our brain. What percentage do we use? Do you recall that? Yep. And it is found that we are using a very small fraction, just about maybe 1%. Would you be interested in knowing how to increase this by a small fraction? Will it make a difference in your life? Yeah? Let me give you one tip. Again, let's play an imagination game. Imagine that the plot in front of you is an agricultural field where just below the surface of the soil are these shoots, seeds, Okay? The entire field is full of them. The way to sprout these seeds, the way to activate them is to step on it. The moment you step on it, they get activated. Step on it, you get activated. All right? Now, bringing it to the brain. There are neurons, you need to activate them. So, in this agricultural field, if you are walking from point A to point B, the first time you walk, are you activating any neurons? Probably yes, because you are stepping on them. So, those neurons are getting activated. Second time, if you step on exactly the same footstep, probably all which had to be activated have already got activated the first time. But if you slightly change the step position, the others get activated. But by the time you are on the 50th walk, I am sure all the neurons that were to be activated have already been activated. Now, you know what? The rest of the field is also available. They all have neurons, they all have seeds. But to activate them, you need to step on it. But we are not stepping on them. We are just walking the same old path using that little portion of land of our brain when you have the entire potential available. So, what can we do to increase the usage? We are using just that much. How can we activate the other brain cells? Well, very simple. Move from point A to point B, but do not take the same path. Try a different route. Jump here, that gets activated. Jump there, that gets activated. Come here, that gets activated. Every time, try another path to reach that point. What happens with that? More and more neurons get activated. More and more brain comes into play. What does that translate into? How can we do that? Well, very simple tips. You wear your watch on the left hand, start wearing it on the right. Basically, what you have to do is do something new every day. Don't repeat the same old thing. It's very good for discipline, yes. I have breakfast exactly at 8 in the morning and lunch at exactly 1:32 in the afternoon. Great for discipline, but not too good for the brain. Try something new every day. You go to your famous, very popular restaurant, your most favorite one. Don't order the same dish every time. Try something new, something totally different. What happens with that? Well, if you're eating with your fingers are feeling something different. New neurons get activated. You put it in the mouth, your taste buds, different sensations, new neurons get activated. Very simple. You get the newspaper in the morning, instead of reading just the front page or the sports page, well, somewhere in the middle there is a small column, 2 by 2 inch, saying Sudoku, Kakuro, crossword. Try something new every day. A new Sudoku problem? Try it. Your brain gets activated, engaged. Do something new every day. That's very important for the brain and its health. And that is the way to increase the percentage usage of your brain. Even a small increase by a few fraction points will change the way your brain works. In the last video also, we spoke about how our brains work. And you told me, I've heard this from many people, that whenever I say the word, I said, for example, food with you. Well, what comes to your mind? Color, image. Some of them also reported, hey, my mouth started watering. Senses. How does your brain get information in? Through its senses. Eyes, ears, nose, touch, feel, taste. That is the entry point for your brain. The more you use it, the better input going to your brain. I've gone to many places where they have a lovely bed of roses, for example. And I go up for the meeting and they say, hey, you got a lovely bed of roses. And you know what? The people working in that office, they say, what roses are you talking about? We become so accustomed to all these things. They are just part of the furniture. We don't even notice it. We drive home on the same path. We don't even notice the things around. That's not good for the brain because we are not using our senses. The more you use your senses, the more aware you become. And that is a very important point for the brain. You have to observe, you have to be aware of your surroundings or what you're doing. Many a time people come and tell me, hey, I have a problem with memory. Really? Yeah, I forget where I've kept my keys and my car keys and my house keys, etc., etc. I just tell them, I don't think it is a memory problem. I think it is an awareness problem. You are doing this on autopilot. You just walked into your house and thrown your key somewhere. The moment you start getting aware, okay, this is my key and I'm keeping it here. Well, your brain has registered something. It will remember that that's where I kept it. But you need to be aware of that. Use all your senses. And the point of the brain has very thin capillaries. Now, how does the brain get its nutrients? It needs oxygen, it needs nutrients. It gets it from the blood. If your blood flows and goes thump, thump, yes, blood will reach the brain, no doubt. You're alive, you're doing well, all your faculties are working, blood is reaching. But if that same blood could be forced like thump, 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 more high pressure blood going in there, better quality, it will reach even the smallest capillaries in the brain. And the brain will absorb that. So, how do we do that? Again, a very simple thing. Exercise. I tell many executives who have their office on, let's say, a higher floor. Typically what they do, they get out of their car, walk a few steps, stand in front of the elevator and take the elevator cab up. I tell them, could you just walk up? What happens with that? As you walk a few steps up, few flights, you start breathing deeply. When you breathe deeply, oxygen intake increases. Brain needs oxygen. It's going to absorb a lot more oxygen. When you exercise more, your heart starts pumping better, faster. More better quality blood reaching the brain. Very simple. Make it a point to exercise. Don't just walk comfortably. Let it beat up. Build up your heart rate. Build up your breathing. It will do wonders for your brain. So, exercise and do something new every day. Very simple, but very effective for your mental health. We were talking about how our brain works. And you've seen that when I said food, first you saw an image. All of you have told me, informed me that yes, we've seen an image which had some color and some shape. But what image did you see? Depends on your association. Some of you would like chocolates, some of you would like cakes, some of you would like more roti, sabji, paratha, whatever you love, pastas, pizzas, burgers, fruits, vegetables. Some of you may have thought of good food and fast food and healthy food, home cooked food, so many different associations. And that, my friend, is the natural way for the brain to work. That is the language it understands and it talks in. The human language. Two pillars, imagination and association. You saw an image, which had some shape and color, imagination. Which image you saw depended on the association you had with that word. That is all that is required for the brain to function. Any activity which involves the use of the brain works on these two pillars: imagination, association. You want to improve your memory? Imagination, association. You want to improve your creativity? Imagination, association. You want to improve your decision making? Imagination, association. Anything to do with the brain, just these two pillars. That's all you need. And you don't have to go out and buy it. It's already there. The Lord above has given ample imagination and association powers to every brain. We just need to know to use it, and the brain will work wonders for you. We spoke about the left and right brain last time, each of them having their attributes. Again, there's a lot of research saying that it's all mixed, but yes, it's fine. Research will keep bringing up new things. But the importance again here is in how do we use this information. Professor Roger Sperry got a Nobel Prize when he showed the world about the two hemispheres. Most people know about it. Okay, so when you ask them what does the left entail, they rattle out da 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 da, words, numbers, lines, etc. But we don't know the importance of that. We don't know how to use that data for our benefit. That's what has happened thanks to Tony Buzan's work. Mind maps. Mind maps are the simplest tool which utilizes both the left and the right attributes, because a combination of them helps your brain work best. Like we saw last time, you remember songs easily. Why? Because it is a combination of words from the left combined with rhythm from the right. A combination. Any left brain activity combined with any right brain activity will be definitely better than one-sided. Combine them and you are doing much better. That's what geniuses are all about. Geniuses were born on the same planet like you and I. They had the same size of head like you and I. The only difference was they knew this trick. They need to combine the left and right. You look at the works of any genius, all of them showed left and right. Imagination, daydreaming, combined with words and numbers, very mathematical, very creative. A combination of them. You're making notes, have some doodles, have some images, use multicolored images. Works well. Rather than only notes, only words. Genius. A genius brain uses both left and right. And now you have the secret. It is no so-called God gift that a person is brilliant. Everybody is brilliant. Everybody is creative. Look at a child. A toddler, he's so creative. He's using color, he's using words, he's using numbers. But as we grow older, as we get into the education system, color is cut out. Probably by 5th or 6th standard, it's all cut out. Single color, boring. You're cutting out the right side. You're cutting out all your extracurricular activities which give you pleasure, focusing only on studies, which is not the way the brain was designed. Combine them, become a genius. Get back what is rightfully yours. You are a genius. Let us hear what Tony Buzan has to talk about, what he has to say on how mind maps are so important and a natural way to work.
Another route that I traveled to come to the same conclusion, i.e. mind maps, was studying different subjects and different geniuses. And I studied neurophysiology, for example, and found that the brain cell looked like a mind map, which was wonderful anyway. But it also worked on the same principles. It worked on linking and associations and transferring and storing images. So neurophysiology tended to confirm that the way that the brain cell and its friends, the other brain cells, would want to note would be in mind map form. The geniuses I mentioned, all the geniuses tended to use the image and some form of association. If you look at Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks, image, 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 and little connections and association. Not yet formalized, not theoretically applied, but the fundamental principles were actually there. I then looked at other people's notes and observed, noted, that the more linear notes they made, the more they didn't like their notes, and the more badly they tended to do, and the more desperate they became around exam times. I observed that the better students, those with better results, tended to have messy notes. And I thought, something's wrong here. If the better students have messy notes, then messy notes must be better. And their messy notes included doodles, little images, again, connections, key ideas, little symbols. And they were, again, not in a structured form, but the elements were fundamentally there. I examined my own process. What did I remember? And I certainly didn't remember sentences, which is how I was making my notes. And I tried to, testing myself, I tried to remember, and I ask you to do the same, I tried to remember 10 sentences of 10 words or more that I had either spoken or written or heard during the last 5 years. And apart from things that I had to remember for study, I couldn't. But I could remember days and weeks and months and years of events. How did I remember them? I remembered them only with images and associations and the senses, the multi-sensory recall of those times. But sentences, no. So I began to realize that in my own notes, I was using a system which was called good, called neat, looked good, looked logical, looked all the things it should look, and it was totally, absolutely wrong for my brain, for my memory, for my creativity. And I studied wherever I could, whatever subjects I could investigate, I began to study. I studied the great poets, especially obviously Shakespeare, and what was his work filled with that made it so memorable, so attractive, so brilliant, so great, so universal. Imagery, associations. Wherever I looked, it was imagination and association. I studied psycholinguistics and discovered semantics and general semantics. What was the principle of that? That every word had its own range of associations, and that in order to communicate and understand, you had to know that fact and be able to understand that people would have different connections around different nodes, around those different supernovas. So everywhere I looked, in every discipline, every path led to imagination, association, the mind map. And the mind map and imagination and association are the human language. They are the language you and I speak. You and I will never meet a foreigner. You'll meet someone who speaks a kind of subroutine different language, called English, called Chinese, called German, called Australian Aboriginal. But you won't meet someone who speaks fundamentally a different language. We all speak the same language. It is the human language. It is imagination and association and the location of those images and associations. And externalized, that language is the mind map. The mind map is the brain's fundamental mega language.
Okay, we shall come back for the second module, where we will be talking more on how to create ideas, how to generate ideas. This module spoke more about brainstorming. You need to know about the brain. What clicks, what ticks, how can I do better? That's what I said. Do something new every day and use your senses. Keep these two in mind. The two pillars for the brain to work best: imagination, association. I made it so simple for you to understand. Implement this and you will work wonders. Catch you on the other side of this video in part 2, where we talk more about brainstorming techniques, how to ideate better, what does creativity mean, and so on. See you soon.